The night had teeth. It bit through coats and scarves and patience, and it found her standing alone at a bus stop where the streetlight flickered like it was tired of trying. Snow hissed sideways, the kind that felt sharp against skin, and her shoes were already soaked, her fingers numb enough that she could no longer tell if they were burning or freezing. That was when the black car slowed, tires whispering against ice, and everything she believed about endings and beginnings trembled on the edge of that curb. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet moments where one decision can change everything, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this matter because people like this exist. She had been a nurse for 7 years, long enough to know the smell of antiseptic could cling to your hair even after a 12-hour shift, long enough to learn that caring for people didn't always mean being cared for in return. Her name was Elena, and that night she had worked double shifts at a city hospital that never slept and rarely thanked anyone for staying awake. The buses were late because the storm had swallowed the schedule whole, and her paycheck had already been swallowed by rent, her mother's medication, and the student loans that followed her like a shadow. She stood with her bag hugged to her chest, breath fogging the air, telling herself that if she just waited a little longer, something would change, because something always had to. The car that stopped wasn't meant for her world. It was too polished, too quiet, the kind of vehicle that belonged to boardrooms and guarded driveways. Inside was Marcus Hale, a CEO whose name was printed in business magazines beside words like visionary and ruthless. He had just left a charity gala he barely tolerated, his tie loosened, his thoughts heavy with numbers and negotiations. In the back seat were his triplet daughters, bundled like small planets in winter coats, their identical faces pressed to the glass as they watched the city slide by. He hadn't planned on stopping, he never did. But the girls had grown quiet all at once, the kind of silence that meant they had seen something important. They saw Elena first, the way her shoulders shook not with sobs but with the effort of staying upright, the way she stamped her feet and rubbed her hands together like she was trying to spark warmth from nothing. They felt the cold through the window and decided, in that uncomplicated way children decide things, that this was not acceptable. Marcus felt their attention pull him back from his thoughts, felt the car slow as if the city itself had put a hand on the hood. He told himself it was impractical, unsafe, unnecessary. He told himself he was late, that someone else would help, that this wasn't his responsibility. But the girls leaned forward, their small faces serious, and the certainty in their eyes cut through every excuse he had built over years of success. They insisted without words that the world was made of moments like this, and that he was being given one whether he wanted it or not. When Elena realized the car had stopped for her, embarrassment flared hotter than fear. Pride had always been the last thing she had left. She hadn't asked for help when her father died, hadn't asked when her mother's health began to fail, hadn't asked when her own life felt like a series of rooms she was cleaning for other people. She braced herself for a dismissive glance or a security concern. Instead, she found herself seen, truly seen, not as a problem, but as a person who was cold and tired and still standing. The drive that followed felt unreal, like slipping into a warmer world through a crack in the ice. Heat filled her bones slowly, painfully, and she stared out the window to keep from crying. Marcus watched her in the rearview mirror, noticing details he had never trained himself to notice before. The hospital badge tucked into her bag, the way exhaustion softened her features, the quiet dignity of someone who had learned to endure. His daughters whispered among themselves, their empathy blooming unchecked, and he felt something shift, something uncomfortable and necessary. They took her to his home, a place that looked like safety from the outside and loneliness from within. The house was too big for one man and 3 children who spent more time with nannies than with him. As Elena warmed up, sipping soup that tasted like relief, she tried to disappear, to be small and grateful and gone by morning. But the girls orbited her, drawn to the calm competence she carried like a second skin. They sensed in her the same steady presence they craved, the kind that listened and remembered and stayed. Over the next days, what was meant to be a brief kindness stretched into something more complicated. The storm worsened, buses stopped running, and Marcus found himself offering temporary work. a way to justify keeping Elena close until the roads cleared. He told himself it was practical, that he needed help while his assistant was out, that it made sense. He didn't tell himself the truth, which was that the house felt warmer with her in it, less like a monument and more like a home. Elena struggled with the weight of it all. She woke before dawn to check on her mother by phone, then spent her days juggling tasks she had never imagined doing for a man whose decisions affected thousands of lives. She felt out of place among polished floors and quiet hallways, but she also felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: possibility. She watched Marcus from a distance, the way his confidence faltered when he tried to braid his daughter's hair, the way he listened when she spoke about her patients, the way guilt flickered across his face when he missed a bedtime story for a conference call. The challenges came quietly at first, then all at once. Rumors at the hospital about her sudden absence, the fear that she was betraying her calling. Marcus's world pushed back, board members questioning his focus, tabloids sniffing around any deviation from his carefully curated image. Elena felt the old instinct to retreat, to leave before she could be asked to, before she could be a complication. She packed her bag more than once, fingers lingering on the zipper as she weighed gratitude against self-respect. What changed her mind wasn't wealth or comfort. It was the night one of the triplets fell ill, fever climbing fast, panic filling the house. Elena moved without thinking, instincts honed by years of crisis guiding her hands, her voice calm and sure. Marcus watched as she became exactly who she was meant to be, saving not just his child's health but his sense of control, his belief that he could handle everything alone. In that moment, the distance between their worlds shrank to something manageable. From then on, the story shifted its tone. Marcus began to show up differently, leaving meetings early, asking questions that had nothing to do with profit. He started a foundation quietly, focused on supporting nurses and frontline workers, not as a publicity move but as an apology to a system he had benefited from without understanding. Elena returned to the hospital part-time, her confidence steadier, her exhaustion tempered by the knowledge that she was not alone in carrying it. The city thawed, the storm passed, buses ran on time again. Elena could have left then, and everyone knew it. The decision hung between them like a held breath. When she chose to stay, it wasn't because she needed saving, but because she had found a place where her strength was valued, where kindness had been offered without strings, where 3 small girls had reminded a powerful man of the kind of person he wanted to be. Life didn't become perfect, it became real. There were arguments and misunderstandings, setbacks and sacrifices. There were days when Elena missed the simplicity of her old routine, and days when Marcus struggled with the vulnerability of letting someone see past his success. But there was also laughter echoing through the house, shared meals, a sense of purpose that felt earned rather than bought. As the months turned into a year, the bus stop where it had all begun became just another corner of the city, unremarkable to anyone passing by. But for Elena, it was a reminder that endurance could meet grace, that being cold and alone didn't mean staying that way forever. For Marcus, it was proof that leadership wasn't just about vision and control, but about stopping when it mattered, about listening to the smallest voices in the car. If this story has been sitting heavy in your chest, if it's reminded you of a moment when someone showed up for you, or when you wished you had shown up for someone else, please take a second to like this video, share it, and let us know in the comments. Your engagement keeps stories like this alive. And just before we reach the end, we have a special request for you. Comment the word kindness below if you believe that small decisions can change lives. It helps this story reach the people who need it most. Because the truth is, the world doesn't change in boardrooms or headlines alone. It changes on freezing nights, at lonely bus stops, when someone decides to stop and someone else decides to trust. And if that idea touched your heart even a little, stay with us, subscribe, and keep believing that warmth can come from the most unexpected places.